We'll go ahead and get started and get the show on the road. Hello, everyone again. It's your friendly MC, Nola, for our LMU Business Insights webinar series. Again, my name is Nola Wanta. I'm the Senior Director of Business Development and Strategy at the College of Business Administration here at LMU. Our LMU Business Insights webinar series is aligned with our mission to advance knowledge and develop business leaders with moral courage and creative confidence to be a force for good in the business and global community. Before we get started, we're just going to go through just a couple of community guidelines so we can have a seamless webinar experience. If you should already be at the speaker view, but if you need to toggle between views, you may do so at the top right-hand corner. Please do type in your questions in the Q&A window. These questions will be moderated after the presentation. Feel free to use the chat window to post your insights or comments only, and you're welcome to share it with all of the participants and the panelists as well. And as a friendly reminder, this webinar is being recorded and will be available after the presentation. We are so proud to bring you our sixth and final installment of our six-part marketing injection series hosted by our M School. To introduce today's talk, I'd like to bring up to the spotlight Professors Andy Rome and Matt Steffel, co-directors of our M School. Guys.
Thanks, Nola. Thanks, College of Business. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Nola. So this morning, I Googled the word agility and came up with searches related to cardiovascular fitness, flexibility, reaction time, even logistics. I guess one of the world's leading logistics companies is called Agility Logistics. There's even dog agility, which I learned is one of the fastest growing dog sports.
Dog sports. I'm gonna have to check that out. I'll be sure to check it out on ESPN. But speaking of agility, did you know that the number one trending topic on Google this week was about the Suez Canal, which is blocked by a ship, which, well, isn't agile enough to clear the canal. Which brings us to our sixth and final teardrop episode in our six-part Corona, C-O-R-O-N-A series.
Last week, Dietmar talked about the N in Corona, nature and sustainability, and we'll drop the link in the chat in case you missed it. Today, in sadly our sixth and final episode with Dietmar, he's going to talk about how in uncertain times and with uncertain futures, it's super important to be agile and look at things from the perspective of nanocycles rather than megacycles.
So basically, to not be a ship that blocks the Suez Canal. A brilliant creator and strategist who has led some of the world's leading agencies, including BBDO and Ogilvy, and now spreads his awesomeness as a professional speaker, executive trainer, coach, and consultant for transformation, adaptation, innovation, and disruptive market strategies. Broadcasting live from Vienna, Austria, the greatest presenter of all time, Dietmar Dahmen.
Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm super excited to be back. This morning I had a discussion with a baby and the baby hit me in the eye. That's why I have an eye injection and that's why I wear glasses. But that's cool because you have to be agile and you have to adapt to new situations. And that is exactly what we're going to talk about today. So I'm sharing the screen already, and just to wrap it up, it all started with chaos, and we learned that chaos leads to creativity and innovation, and we also learned that most of this innovation today happens online. We also learned in the third installment that everything that is online can probably be done by robots and automation. And then we learned that this has a huge effect on our offline world, and that the biggest part of our offline world is the planet itself, and the planet needs to live, and that's why we need nature and sustainability. And in the last talk about nature and sustainability, we learned that everything always starts at the fringes, and that sustainability used to be a fringe market, that only a couple of stores had local products, organically grown products and stuff like that, and that this is growing bigger and bigger and bigger because some fringe markets become main markets. And if you become a main market, you're actually pushing the old market leaders away. And this hits the old market leaders big time, because the old market leaders always think, oh my God, I'm having such a great time. I'm at the peak of my sales. I have the highest sales ever. I have the highest penetration ever. And if there's a new trend, they might expect that there will be a slow, gradual decline. So the market leader expects something like the bell curve. I rose and I will go down really smoothly like a bell curve. But in reality, we often see that if the fringe market kills the main market, the old main market leader, boom, it's a dramatic decline. It's not a bell curve, it's a Wile E. Coyote curve. And I think that's unsustainable. Brands and unsustainable products will decline Wile E. Coyote style. It's not going to be smooth. It's going to be dramatic. It's a dramatic decline, and sustainable brands will dominate because there's a huge tailwind towards sustainability. Sustainable products are growing really fast in the US, and there's a strong urgency. We again are reading about the major water catastrophes and the flooding in Australia. A year ago, there was fire, the entire continent was burning, and now there's rain floods. And the same almost is happening in California where you live. So you need to act sustainable as a person, as a brand, as anybody. But that was just the last episode. And before that, we learned that you don't just need to act sustainable, you also have to address the offline soul of our customer, who's paleo. We have the paleo customer. And you have to automate, because everything online can be automated. And you have to figure out the digital twins, that your business is a digital twin and the customer is a digital twin, and that in reality, the business is between the twins. And in the beginning, you learned that the crisis is actually something that encourages you to think big, because big problems need big thinking and big solutions. And how can you do all those things? And this is what today's talk is all about. It's exactly about that. How do you do those things? And the answer is simple. You have to be agile. But agility is only one part of the task that you need to solve. This is a little personal moment in Singapore. I was at a conference in Singapore before Corona. And as you might know, Singapore used to be a place where there was a garden in the city. And then they said in the 1960s, we don't want to be a garden in the city. We actually want to be a city in the garden. And in the 1960s, they said that this is their 100-year vision. That's at least what the tourist guide told me. So the 100-year vision. And the question is, what does that has to do with agility? And that's the wrong question, because what we look now is the vision part. And the vision has to be long-term. We will come to this in a moment, but it's always that the vision is long-term and the action is short-term, and that's where agility comes in. The long-term vision is crucial in order to achieve your goals, especially in chaotic times. The more chaotic the circumstances, the more long-term your vision should be. If you react to momentarily changes, you might lose your vision. So what you need to do, for instance, when you're a captain in a boat and all of a sudden there's a storm, you orient yourself not at the next wave. You might react to the wave, but the orientation might be the North Star. And the North Star is even outside of this galaxy. It's really far away. So if you're a business and there's chaotic times, you might react to the waves that are hitting you, like Corona and stuff like that. But your vision to be more sustainable, to actually grow your market or whatever your vision is, that's where you should never lose that vision, and that's where you need to go. So the vision is where you want to go. The agility is how you get there in chaotic times. So agility is a two-part thing of long-term and short-term. If you are only acting agile without the vision, it's chaotic. The vision gives you the orientation and the direction. So first, the vision. And this is really important because you are as big as your vision. Again, this was Singapore, and they said they want to be a city in the garden. If their vision would have been, we want one more park, that would have been a very small vision. And they might have actually talked to, I don't know, a local guy, can we have your parking lot and make a park out of it? So the action would be small action. If you have a slightly bigger vision, for instance, we want 5 parks, maybe you need to talk to the mayor of that particular area or something like that to get 5 parks done. And that would be a slightly bigger action. But if you actually say, we want the biggest vision ever, we want to be a city in the garden, your actions dramatically change because you talk to the parliament, you talk to city planning, you actually design the new subway routes around those things. It's a completely different thing. So the vision defines also the size of the action. Small visions, small actions, big visions, big actions. It is really important to have big visions. You are as big as your vision. And even a guy from Los Angeles, James Cameron, said, if you set your goals ridiculously high and it's a failure, you will still fail above everybody else's success. So you have to think big. This is really important for you in your career. So the vision is where you want to go. And what does the agile mean? The agile is how you plan to get there. But that is not really true for agility because the tricky word here is plan. And agile more or less means no plan. Agile actually means a constant response to change. You probably all know design thinking. We will just go through design thinking technique really, really quickly. It is, as you see, this wave that continues and stuff like that constantly, and it all starts with the scope. And the scope is the final goal, which is your vision. Where do I want to go? Where do I want to be in a couple of years? Where do I want to be at the end of the project? So your final vision could be, for instance, I want to be bigger than Starbucks. I want to make Netflix obsolete. Those are really, really great goals. And then you also have in the scope the status quo. Where are you now? Well, I'm a student at LMU, so it's a long way to go. But you need to have your vision, and that's always your orientation. Define the final goal, make Netflix obsolete, and define the status quo. The next thing is the research. And you can see that you have to define the needs and wishes for all stakeholders. So it's not just your wish. It's also about what do the customers want? What do potential TV stations or providers of content want and stuff like that. And in order to find that out, you can't just Google that. You have to interview the people. You have to observe the people. You have to meet the people. It is really vital to actually see your topic, your thing you're working on in real life, not just on the desk. If you want to study the gorilla, go into the jungle. If you want to study consumers, go into the supermarkets, talk to them, meet them. Very, very important. The next level is synthesize this. So once you talk to everybody and you have all this information, you have to condense it because it's way too much. It's probably hours and hours of video material, pages and pages of content. So what you need to do, you have to condense it into single and relatively simple customer journeys, into personas and stuff like that. That brings us then to the ideation period, which is obviously the brainstorming part. This is the quantum creativity. You have to come up with many, many, many solutions. I used to be at one point a copywriter at an ad agency, and my creative director back then said, I need from you 50 headlines. And then he didn't even read the first 10 or 20 ones, because the first 10 or 20 ones are the ones that everybody can come up with in the beginning. And only after that moment, when you dive deep into the subject, you come up with really crazy stuff. So you need time in order to be creative. And that means for you, many, many solutions, work on it, dive deep, and come up and use not the first idea, but maybe the 20th, the 50th, the 100th. That's really, really important. After you've done the brainstorming part, which is the quantum creativity, you might remember from the beginning, you have to now evaluate it and use binary creativity, the yes-no question. This idea is great, but in terms of cost, can we do it? Yes, no. In terms of feasibility, can we do it? Yes, no. And you have to do that over and over and over again. And then after you have that, you build the first rough prototypes. I personally work a lot of very much in digital things, and I do prototypes on yellow stickies. So I have my phone and I put a yellow sticky on, and I go, first you click here, and then you click here, and then you swipe there, and this is what it is. Why do I do it on yellow stickies? Because it is very easy to throw a yellow sticky away. I don't have respect for that idea. And in order to improve, you have to be able to get rid of the shit quickly. If you program it and it looks really, really awesome, you want to keep it. You say, oh no, I can't throw everything away. Can't we at least keep the logo or something like that? If it's just a yellow sticky, boom, ditch it and come up with something new. Very, very easy. So create your very easy first click dummy, test the prototypes, improve the rough prototypes, and then do that over and over and over and over again. And after one point, you will notice the rough prototype works. And only when it works, you move on and build the first prototype, which is called the minimal viable product, a thing that just barely works. And you can test this in the real world. That's the testing period, you deploy it, and that's really good. And you have the minimal viable product. It's something where you just show that it works. It's not great yet, but you have it out in the market. So what's the next step? Is the MLP. After the minimal viable product comes the minimal lovable product. It's the mini thing that makes you, oh, I really like this. It's great. Before it was, I'm not ashamed of it. And now I said, hey, I'm proud of it. I love it. And after the minimal lovable product comes the maximum lovable product, where you go, oh my God, this is great. It's fantastic. I love it. The world should see this. We're going to dominate everything. And this quest for the maximum lovable product never stops, because then you have the improved maximum lovable product. And this is why every morning when you wake up, you have a new update from the app, because there's always creating a new maximum lovable product. And that's what you need to do. And all this is written down, not in the Communist Manifesto, but in the Agile Manifesto, where it says you have to reflect, you have to tune the things, you have to adjust the things, and you have to continuously deliver over and over and over again. And the Agile Manifesto actually claims certain things: individuals and interactions over processes and tools. That means you need to constantly break the rules, constantly come up with something new. It's not about the tool or the process. Kill the processes, kill the tools, and it's all about how do the people like it? How is the interaction? Is it a great thing to interact with those things? So from the very first talk, your job is to be a rule breaker. This is the position here. Then the next claim is working software over comprehensive documentation. This means it is about what it does. The init, just init, not what it's supposed to be. The documentation is about what it's supposed to be. But you promised me this and this. And the inging it is what it actually does. So just look at the stuff that it actually does for working software and work with that, and don't look at contracts and stuff like that. Which brings us to the third point: customer collaboration over contract negotiations. It's people before lawyers. It's the fuck yeah attitude. It's not like, but we can't go there. We're deviating from the path to say, yeah, fuck yeah, we are, and we're going to win. So it's a dance. It's not a march. It's a game. It's customer collaboration. You work with your clients. It's not a separate world where the customer is on one side of the table and you're on the other side and you're fighting. You're a team together. Very, very important. And finally, obviously, it's that you are responding to change over following a plan. And this also was in the beginning. Remember the pinball and the bowling concept. We're playing now pinball and not bowling, and that is what agility means. Your mind might keep the vision, I want to win this game, but your fingers that are doing it are adapting constantly to where the ball is now. And this is not just true for bowling. This is true for a lot of stuff, even surfing. So let's go to the beach and learn from the surfers. You're in Los Angeles, you're close to the beach, and there he is, the king of the waves. And he's the king of the wave because he's permanently adapting. You're always ahead of the curve. You're always in front of the wave, and the wave pushes you. So what you do, for instance, with sustainability is that you are in front of sustainability. How can I be in front of this wave? And then you can serve it and you can win. Unless, of course, something hits you, boom, and then there's chaos. And this is what we call disruption. And disruption is not new. Disruption is not a new thing. Disruption is with us forever. As I like to say, and others also, I guess, the Stone Age did not end from a lack of stones. The Stone Age didn't end because we didn't have enough stones. The Stone Age ended because somebody said no to the stone. I don't want to see one more stone. If I see one more stone, I hit you with my metal axe. That's what happened, right? And what is this? If you kill the stone axe and you come up with a metal axe, what do you attack? Disruption attacks existing technology. That's what it does, but it keeps the basic need. It keeps the need to hit somebody, for instance, right? That's what it is, but it improves the user experience. In the case of the Stone Age axe, the metal, for instance, lasts longer or cuts better and stuff like that. And we see this over and over again. Look at the music industry. The need to listen to music is very, very old, but the technology, how we achieve that, is changing constantly. We used to have musical instruments only, and then came the radio, and then came the record, and then came the tape recorder, and then came the CDs, and then came, I don't know, iTunes, and now we have Spotify and stuff like that. And each one kills the one before, because each one disrupts the market before. Apple disrupted the record business. And if you had a record printing business, a vinyl business, you are now a niche market. You're not the main market anymore. Those things are happening constantly, but the need stays. That's why when we came up with light or something, the basic need for light stays, right? But the way we use it, the user experience improved when we came up with a flashlight, because a flashlight shines brighter and it actually burns fewer homes and stuff like that. So that's a really, really great thing. So the most important thing here is that if you have any innovation, you have to think about, does it improve the user experience? Does it make the life better, easier, faster, smarter, safer? And then the people will use it. It is not a change of the basic need. It is just improving the technology that delivers the solution to that basic need. And that is why, even if it's an ultra disruptive thing, most users don't really see the change. Most users actually see continuity. The user sees the continuity. The user sees the same thing, only brighter, safer, better. If you ask me the difference between like Netflix and the TV, I would say, well, it's the same, it's only better. I can see what I want. I don't necessarily see that Netflix killed media companies. If you ask me how is the about music, you know, what is Spotify? I say, yeah, it's much better. I don't have to go to the store, and I have every store in the world. To me, I see continuity. So I, as the user, see the continuity and how it improved my user experience. But the company sees the change, and the company sees the work. And if you move, for instance, from printing records to streaming something, that's a lot of work. It's so much work that very often you cannot keep up. You can't keep up with this. For instance, when Netflix was made, they actually went to Blockbuster, which was a brick and mortar store where you had to go and rent videotapes. And they said, would you like to be a part of it? And A, they said, being arrogant and obviously the market leader, no, we don't want to invest in you. And B, when they later needed to change that, it was so much work. Netflix was so much ahead that they couldn't do it. And what did they do? What did Blockbuster do? They didn't say, oh my God, we really have to now put all our resources into streaming service. They gave themselves reasons why they don't need to do it. They came up with ideas why a brick and mortar store is better than streaming. What they came up with is artificial reasons to never change a winning horse. They say we've been in the market forever and look at all our advantages. And there were reasons, and I quote this because I saw the keynote in Copenhagen from the Netflix guy. They told him, no, Blockbuster is better because you can get a Coke and popcorn at the Blockbuster Video when you go to the store, and you cannot do that with Netflix. They came up with unbelievable reasons why their business model is better. And the reason, again, was never change a winning horse. So let's look at what a winning horse is, right? Never change a winning horse. We've heard it many, many times. What is it? What do you need in order to be a winning horse? Number one, you need a horse. That's, you see, it's a strong horse, very, very muscular, powerful. That is, if you're later in business, that's your business. If that's Blockbuster, I'm the market leader, I'm the best, I have power. On top of the horse, the jockey, that's you. That's the manager, top management, decision maker, and you steer the horse. And if you look at the jockey and the horse, you see they look like one. They look like this perfect team. And if the jockey steers the horse this way, the horse goes that way, and it's fantastic, right? But the problem is that it's just a great team. That is not necessarily a winning horse, because obviously in order to win, you have to compete. And where do you compete? You don't compete inside the horse or inside the jockey. You compete outside the horse, outside the jockey. You compete in the green stuff that is surrounding the horse and the jockey. And you compete in the environment. You compete in the market, and that is outside of you. And if I leave the horse and the jockey exactly like they are, and the only thing I change is the environment, and I make it liquid, all of a sudden, there are no winners, dolphins. And then the horse says, how come the dolphins are winning? Which is like, how come Netflix is winning? Look at how stupid they look. And then you might degrade them. Take a dolphin on land, get him out of the ocean onto the beach. What does the dolphin do? That's what they do. I'm much better on land. Yeah, but you're not on land anymore. The environment changed. But the dolphins, they are mammals. They used to be on land. How come that a former land animal is now so great in a liquid environment? How come that some organic form that used to make for solid environments, where the market stays the same over a long period of time, is now so agile and great in a liquid environment? And the reason is twofold. Number one, they completely changed their inner structure. So they are, data-driven, artificial intelligence-driven, and stuff like that. Their inner works is completely different. They have new positions. They have a chief customer happiness officer, a chief sustainability officer, and stuff like that. So the inner works are different. They're also probably less hierarchy-oriented. They are much flatter. We are very top-down, and the head is the business, and then heart is the marketing, and then sales is the feet and stuff like that. They are really not that many hierarchies. So they changed the inner structure. But that's not the only thing they changed. They also changed the outer structure. They used to have arms like us, and that's good for one big contact, right? You want the video, boom, here it is. I give you the video, boof. That's what a long arm is great for, grabbing something, giving somebody something. And they gave that up. They gave that up. They don't have a hand and an arm, they have fins. And what can little fins do? Permanent content. Permanent content. Are you looking at this? That whole data frequency problematic we were talking about. If they were TikTok, they would have 15 or 20 or whatever digital contacts with you every 15 seconds. That's what they did. So they changed the outer customer reach thing from a one-time only to permanently always on, and they changed their inner structure, lower hierarchies, maybe different divisions, and that's why they are the new winner. And if they are the new winner, by definition, you have a new loser, and the attack is very, very heavy. So what you need to do is you need to put on your helmet, like I'm doing now, and you have to jump on that shark and you have to ride the shark. You cannot go away from it. And you need to ride that shark big time. That's what you need to do. If there's a new trend, don't run away. If there's a shark in your ring, you cannot fight it. It's stronger. You cannot flee, it's faster. You cannot freeze because then the shark eats you anyway. The only safe position is to jump on top of that shark and ride that technology, even if you don't understand it. Ride the blockchain, the NFT tokens and stuff like that. And the way to do it is with 1 foot on each side, emotion and function, digital and human, those kind of things. That's what you need to do. Question is, in the last couple of minutes, which shark? Which sharks do you need to ride? Is it sustainability? Is it digitization? Is it robots? Which shark? And you're young. So which sharks will be there in 10 years, in 15 years? And the reality is simple. We don't know. We don't know. We simply don't know. We are very much, in fact, like Little Red Riding Hood, the little girl that has to go through the woods in order to get the grandma wine, right? She only knows the mission. And the mission is, I need to get grandma tipsy. I bring her some wine. And actually, she likes wine so much, I make her plaster. And that's really even better. But all the rest is unknown. She doesn't know where she will go next. She has to be agile. Is that a safe way or is that a safe way? She doesn't know. She doesn't even know who might attack her. And we as a business don't know what might attack us. I used to do a lot of stuff for the car industry, and who attacks the car industry? If you're Mercedes or BMW, is it another car brand? Is it the other car brand? Is BMW afraid of Mercedes? Or is it something outside your entire universe? This guy who has been there all the time, and all of a sudden, the wolf from the dark, boom, jumps at you and attacks you. And this is true for every market. The biggest attacks come from outside the market. In reality, Google and stuff like that with self-driving attacked cars. And Apple with streaming music and the iTunes store and stuff attacked the music industry. And Amazon's are now attacking shopping malls and cities. You live in Los Angeles, but just imagine you live in New York. The entire inner city, Manhattan, is under attack by Amazon because the regular stores can't afford the rent on Fifth Avenue and stuff anymore. And then Corona attacked LMU. It's always happening. It's unbelievable. And what do you do if somebody attacks you and you're already in the business? What you do is simple, you fight back. And how do you fight back? You fight back with more bang. And you fight back with more bang than Amazon, and more bang than Apple, and more bang than Corona. But how do you do that? Your status quo is that you're a student. How can you have more bang than Apple or Amazon? And the winner's insight is easy. If your opponent is super powerful, you need to fight back with what the opponent lacks, what the opponent is weak in, the weakness, the Achilles heel. You find the user experience that they lack, and then you deliver that. And for instance, if you fight Amazon, Amazon lacks shopping experience. So if you were to come up with something that is like Amazon, but doesn't have the Achilles heel of really boring, ugly website ordering, do that and create a shopping experience. Apple lacks that the whole thing of local, organic sustainability. And that's how you can potentially fight Apple. Corona lacks the ability to penetrate masks. And that's why we all wear masks. And Corona definitely lacks the ability to penetrate Zoom. And that's why we are on Zoom right now. We fight Corona with what Corona does not have and cannot do. And that's what you need to do in business as well. So to wrap up the entire thing in the last 3 slides, the C and the A, the creativity and the agility, is the mindset that you should develop in order to be a successful business leader. The toolbox that you have is the O and the R. It has to be online and it has to be automated. That is very, very important. And the tailwinds that push you to success, the tailwinds are the O and the N, because everything is, you're addressing the the offline customer, even if you're doing online services, the paleo customer with the ancient needs of wanting to love, wanting to be loved, wanting to be acknowledged, and you're addressing things that are good for the planet, like sustainability. Those are the things. And that is the final slide of my entire presentation. I thank you very much that you stayed with us for such a long time. There will be an amazing handout. And now I will close this. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Stop it. And boom. Thank you. It was awesome. And now I will vanish.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, Dietmar. That was just awesome. I especially love your last slide and how everything came together with all of the presentations. Like something just clicked in my head, and it's just fantastic. So just as a reminder to everyone, please do type in your questions in the Q&A window. So just drop them in there. Feel free to upvote and so forth. And we'll start Q&A with Professor Rome, who had a question for Dietmar. So Andy.
Thanks, Nola. Thank you, Dietmar. This has been amazing. Let me ask you, in your experience, have you seen it, like, is it possible for companies or brands or organizations to actually move too fast?
The main problem is that, so the first answer is I don't think so. I think very often we see that the market isn't ready yet, right? So that a lot of people say we invented our product too fast. But if they really address the human need, the ancient paleo customer, and if they actually take the person where they are and improve the customer experience, then they are not too fast. So the thing that happens is that, for instance, we all know the case of Apple, and that's a very famous case, that before the iPhone, they had a product that was like the iPhone, and that was called the Apple Newton. And the iPhone is basically the Apple Newton. And a lot of people say, well, the Apple Newton was too early for the market. And I don't agree, because if you look at the advertising of the Apple Newton, it gives reasons why you should buy it. So just Google it and you will see a print ad with, I don't know, 5,000 words that gives you reasons why the Apple Newton is great. If you look at the iPhone said, so what they made is they made a big invention sound really big. The iPhone made a big invention sound really small. They said, it's a phone. And I bought the first iPhone because I thought it's a phone and an iPod in one. How great is that? So to me, I saw the continuity, whereas in the first advertising campaign, they didn't stress the continuity. They stressed that it's a new revolutionary thing. And I said, I don't need that. But if somebody says to me, do you want a phone that is also an iPod? I say, yeah, I see the continuity. It's a phone and I can listen to music to that. How great is that? The other functions added up. And Apple learned from that. And that's why they called the Apple Watch an Apple Watch. It has nothing to do with the functionality of a watch. Is a total joke. It has way more functionality than that. But what they do is they address the ancient need, and they address the fact that the consumer in disruption has to see continuity. So if the market isn't ready, it is the fault of the marketing department explaining the market that it's simply continuity, only with a better customer experience.
Got it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. We do have a great question here, actually. We face the issue.
We have a great question.
Yes, we do. This is a great one. This is actually, and I'm curious on your response to this. We face the issue that we are lean and have many challenges to deal with, and yet we know we have to be agile and innovative. How do you change direction in your business while simultaneously reacting to all the crises we are facing? It feels like your strategy would be the right direction, but culture would have to change, and we can't afford the switch in direction. As you know, in a lot of cases, especially in large organizations, it takes time to change the culture. So how would agility and so forth, how do we address that?
Okay, it's a great question, but it's a little fuzzy for me. They mean, does the person who asked the question mean the company culture or the culture of the consumer?
I think in this particular case, the company culture, at least that's what I'm curious
Yeah,
about.
okay.
Other influences for
Yeah, okay, I understand that. What you need to do is, if you want to change the company culture, or what I always do, is I look at a company as a person. A person is somebody like me, and I have certain values. And that is the thing that stays with me. But the way I look, the way I dress, the way the movies I like, the music I listen to changes. I'm still true to myself. So the trick is that you reinvent yourself, like if you were to get a new haircut. It doesn't change the soul and the inner structure of your personality. So the inner structure of the company stays. For instance, if you look at BMW, I think it's, what is it? Driving machines or some fun driving machines or something like that. Ultimate driving machine. The inner, that's true. No matter if they're electric or combustion or if whatever they do. So the thing is to really find the actual soul and inner core of your company and keep that. Because if you were to lose that, you're like a schizophrenic person, and the people go, oh my God, what happened to them? You have Alzheimer, you forgot everything you used to stand for. So try to define that. And then on your actions, what you do, grow with the market. You know, I am still in certain parts like I was when I was 4, but I don't listen to Winnie the Pooh movies anymore. So you can grow up and still be true to yourself. The most important thing is to find the inner core, and very many companies don't know that. So really look at if you're the marketing advisor, try to find the absolute core of the company and keep that, and then adapt to the new. And that can help the people adapt. And the other thing is, if you don't do that, you're dead. If you don't do that, you look like those people that you see on the streets where you go like, oh my God, they still live in the 90s or 2010s or whatever.
Fantastic. And I see Matt's hand raised. And Matt, while you're asking a question, I'm just going to pull up the QR code for our students, if that's okay. Great. So please go ahead.
So great talk. What are we going to do on Thursdays? I don't know now, but we're going to miss spending it with you. So thank you so much for all your generosity and your contribution over the last 6 weeks. We've all gotten so much out of it.
I loved it too.
Awesome.
And here's the question.
I love this minimum viable product, agile ways of thinking. I like to think about it in terms of speedboats versus battleships. Right? Yeah. Put a bunch of speedboats in the water. Sometimes they'll blow up, but it's not a huge loss versus trying to steer a giant battleship. But it's interesting because Apple, if you look at Apple's corporate culture, they're definitely more battleship. They perfect products. They don't change their mind very often. Versus Google, they put things out. If you look at the history of Google, of YouTube Premium and how they've tried to charge for it, they've gone through 10 brand iterations. The problem is nobody knows what the offering is anymore. So I'm curious for you is my thesis is this: we live in a bit of a pivot culture, right? So it's this idea, I'm just going to put something out. If it doesn't work, I'll call it something else. Are there detriments to that?
Yes, and I like to use the example of the boat. A big boat, you can make a big boat agile, and the way to do that is you have a tugboat, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. Yep. A tugboat is a little boat in front of the big boat. It's outside of the big boat, and it's connected to the big boat with a line. And I think, I don't know it, but I would assume that Apple has a tugboat in Silicon Valley, many of them. And they try the Apple car, and they try Apple glasses, and they try all kinds of things. And that is where they fail. They don't fail in the public, they fail at home within their own company. But they still fail, and they still have millions and millions and millions of products. The difference between Apple and Google, as you describe it to me, seems that Google blasted out to the market way too soon. If you look about the design thinking curve, I said stop in the middle and reiterate a couple of 100 times and then go to the market. That's what Apple does. Whereas Google does maybe one iteration and then immediately puts it out on the market, and that's why it might seem chaotic to others. But the process of many little boats, even if it's a tugboat, is there. And then once this little tugboat survives, you say, okay, now hook it up to the big tanker. Boof, Apple Watch, done.
Awesome. I feel like that's a mic drop right there.
Probably.
Fantastic. Well, we are at the bottom of the hour and I want to be mindful of everyone's time. And just as Matt dropped all of the information for the videos and also the EPUB comic book, we'll also be sending that out via email to all of our attendees for all of the 6 injections. So we are so grateful and thankful for Dietmar, for his time, for his knowledge, and everything that you have shared with us and our community and our students. And I especially want to thank our 2 co-directors for the M School for putting this all together.